Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. Deconstructing the using the N word wasn't racist excuse. Now, before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. The most popular, I would say highest paid, podcaster Joe Rogan, of the Joe Rogan Experience, has been getting into a lot of trouble lately. Starting with some of his ridiculous claims on the vaccines and doctors and whatever. And so that drew a lot of attention from doctors. And one of the most interesting effects of that was that several musicians in protest removed their music from Spotify, who is paying Joe Rogan this large sum of money. Now I'm gonna come back to that because that right there is kind of what's going on. But one of the musicians, India RA, decided to pull her music, but she also released some racial slurs in Joe Rogan's past. And I think other people begin to release, show these past use of the N word. Okay. Now I want to play his video and unpack it because he's on an apology tour. Now I want to say right off that I do not believe that he's on an apology tour because of the racial slurs. I think he's on an apology tour because there's a lot of heat. Spotify is losing money, so keep that in mind. And so, and it really kind of starts with his ridiculous claims on the COVID. Now, the past use of the racial slur is just kind of making this fire much, much larger. I want to show his use of the N word and then the apology, which I don't accept, I don't buy. But I believe that this use of the N word is who he is. And I'm going to get to that because other things have come up. So let's deconstruct his apology video. I'm going to play it. I'm going to, of course, comment on it. And then come back on the other side as well. So let's play it.
Hello, friends. I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly. There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast.
So right off, here is this is he says these were taken out of context. 12 years. So over 12 years, okay, he's used the N word. I'm going to comment more on it, but I'm going to let him play. I'm going to play a little more, but I want to kind of unpack this little by little. I want you to keep this in mind. 12 years, right? Not once or twice or something like that. 12 years. Let's continue.
It's all smushed together and it looks fucking horrible, even to me. Now, I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but for a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N word, I would just say the word. I thought as long as it was in context, people would understand what I was doing. Like that context was part of the clip we were talking about Red Fox, how Red Fox said that word on television in the 1970s and how times have changed so much since then. Or about how Richard Pryor used it as one of the titles of one of his albums. Or I was quoting a Lenny Bruce bit, or I was quoting a Paul Mooney bit, or I was talking about how Quentin Tarantino used it repeatedly in Pulp Fiction, or I was talking about how a Netflix executive, ironically, used it because he was trying to compare it to another offensive word, and he said it out loud, and they fired him.
All right, so kind of some problems with this. One, that everybody was saying it. Two, I thought if black people are saying it and then I say it, it must be okay. Now, what's missing here is history. Where did the word come from? Now, he's tying it to black people. Well, black people are saying it, so it must be okay, right? And I thought that I could say it, but he said earlier that he said, well, I mean, obviously a white person can't say it, but I thought that a white person can say it. He said, but then if you remember the statement where he says, I understand that now. Now, Joe? Let's continue.
Not calling anybody or just saying the word out loud. I was also talking about how there's not another word like it in the entire English language, because it's a word where only one group of people is allowed to use it, and they can use it in so many different ways. Like if a white person says that word, it's racist and toxic, but a black person can use it and it could be a punchline. It could be a term of endearment. It could be lyrics to a rap song. It could be a positive affirmation.
Okay, so at this point, we need to do a quick history of it. Because to me, he's shifting the responsibility here. As if, well, if a white person say it, it's racist. But if a black person say it, it's a term of endearment. Now, first and foremost, let me say, whether you're white or black, I think the word should be banned. It is a bad word, period. What Joe fails to do here is give the history of why this word is bad. And the reason why I have to say that, because when we come to black people using the word, there's a horrible history to this. So let's start with the history. First, the N word was used by white people to designate and condition slaves, black slaves. The word nigger was used in terms of an animal, less than. That's why they use the word. So it was a white man's word used to condition black people in their slavery. Yes, it was demeaning, dehumanizing. And it was really the, other than slave, the only word that they were referred to. So generations after generations after generations, right? This was the term white people used when referring to and thinking this is what a black person is. So the N word is a white man, a white people's word. So black people called themselves, slaves referred to themselves as N words. As we came out of slavery, see the mentality, the effects of slavery, remember, never went away. Jim Crow happened. And even to this day, we're still referring, white people still refer to blacks with the N word, okay, with that meaning. Now, when you talk about kind of more modern terms of the use, yes, the rap world, which sold records, crossed over, a lot of white people singing along, using whoever the rap star was using the word, that's how they was using the term. But let's go back to the black person using the term. This was a lingering effect of the original dehumanizing use of the word. That's why I say, I don't care who used it, it shouldn't be used. Now, the connotation he's trying to apply is that, well, see, wait a minute, when a white person says it, Well, yeah, it's bad, but and in a backhanded way, he's basically saying we don't understand why we can't use the word if black people use the word. Well, I said no one should use the word. But more than that, why do you want to use the word when you understand its meaning? Okay, its original intent. Now, so whether he try, you could say, yeah, all of the comedians that he listed, all of the rappers that he listed, I disagree with their use of the word. I think it's a product of generational curses. Okay, plain and simple. Why do black people say the N word? Because they were taught, because they were conditioned. And yes, when we use the word, we wasn't using it in a sense like white people was using it, but it still was a product of how the racist society of America dished it out. So he's missing this whole point when making the argument, I just don't understand what the problem is. The problem is it never should have been used in referring to humans and understanding the direct purpose of why white people, white slave owners use the term, and we've never gotten over that. All right, let's continue.
Very unusual word, but it's not my word to use.
Now again, I kind of disagree. It was a white man's word. They just shouldn't use it. And by the way, it's not a black person's word either. Let's continue.
I'm well aware of that now, but for years I used it in that manner. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist, but whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not racist, you fucked up.
So I don't believe he never used the word in the worst way. I don't believe it, and I'm gonna kind of show you why I don't believe it later. But all right, let's move on but I don't believe he did not, like around. I'm gonna show you, in my opinion, why I believe his use of the N word reveals what's truly in his heart. Let's continue.
And I clearly have fucked up. And that's my intention to express myself in this video, to say there's nothing I can do to take that back. I wish I could. Obviously, that's not possible. I do hope that, if anything, that this can be a teachable moment. Because I never thought it would ever be taken out of context and put in a video like that. And now that it is.
Now, I think this is true. See, this is the point. He never thought it would be used against him. And that's why I said, if you say it's a teachable moment, then teach it. Go back to the original. Hey, this man has means. He's $100 million man. He has means. He could pay people to say, hey, what's with this use of the N word? If you say it's a teachable moment, let's say, okay, now he's caught. I'm going to tell you again, I said it before, what this is about, this apology tour here is about, has to do with money. And we'll get back to that later. But if you put the teachable moment, hey, he could have paid someone, hey, research this word, the N word. Well, what's it really about? And then he could have said, now, using the word now, I understand. But when he said, I understand now that I can't use the word, I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to show a picture of Dog the bounty hunter who said the same thing when his use of the N word. But I'll get to that later. Let's continue.
Holy shit, it looks bad. And it's part of also me doing this podcast for thousands of hours, thousands of episodes, over 12 years. I said a lot of fucking stupid shit.
Well, no doubt, but and watch it, and we all do. I mean, I've said dumb stuff. However, the 12 years in particular of his use of the N word, that's another thing. That's revealing. Let's continue.
Which is fine when you're talking about most things, but not when you're talking about race. And there's another clip that I have to address. There's a clip from a...
Now, I'm going to play this clip that he's talking about because, see, this is one of these things, when it rains, it pours. And what I said before, that his use of the N-word for 12 years reveals a lot more. Well, this is sort of now, he keeps saying, oh, by the way, this thing going to come up. And who knows what else is going to be oh, by the way, I got this one. So he's getting ready to explain the other video. Let's continue.
7 years ago, I was telling a story on the podcast about how me and my friend Tommy and his girlfriend, we got really high. We were in Philadelphia and we went to go see Planet of the Apes. And we didn't know where we were going. We just got dropped off by a cab and we got dropped off in this all black neighborhood. And I was trying to make the story entertaining. And I said, we got out and it was like we were in Africa. It's like we were in Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Now, why would that come up? I'm going to play the video because I want you to hear his own words. Right? Because again, people are starting to amass all of this information here. But why would being in a black neighborhood remind you of Planet of the Apes? Why would you think 8 black people? See, this is his heart. Now, let me just say this. This is not the only time he said that. He said this, in a sense, recently. About going to the darkest Africa where people don't wear clothes. In other words, this is what he thinks about black people. This is the point here. This is not just slip of the words. This is what he thinks. And so these videos are out and now he has to explain them. But he has to explain them because his pocketbook is getting hit. Let's continue.
I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes, but it sure fucking sounded like that. And I immediately afterwards said, that's a racist thing to say. Planet of the Apes wasn't even in Africa. I was just saying there's a lot of black people there. But then I went on to talk about what a positive experience it was and how much fun it was to go to see this movie in a black neighborhood. It wasn't a racist story, but it sounded terrible. And like I said, you can have clunky stories about anything, but not about race. And so I deleted that whole podcast, but obviously somebody made a clip out of it and taken out of context. It looks terrible, but it looks terrible even in context. It's a fucking idiotic thing to say. And I was just trying to be entertaining. I certainly wasn't trying to be racist. And I certainly would never want to offend someone for entertainment with something as stupid as racism. My hope is that, look, I can't go back in time and change what I've said. I wish I could. Obviously, that's not possible. But I do hope that this can be a teachable moment for anybody that doesn't realize how offensive that word can be coming out of a white person's mouth, in context or out of context. My sincere and humble apologies. I wish there was more that I could say, but all of this is just me talking from the bottom of my heart. It makes me sick watching that video, but...
Okay, so here's the problem. That's his apology video, okay? And the reason why is because the stuff is hitting the fan, okay? The stuff is hitting the fan. In other words, Spotify is losing money. Not because of the N-word video. He's losing money because of his idiotic vaccine comments and how he approaches the vaccines. And then the response to that is musicians are pulling their music from Spotify. In one shot, Spotify lost about $2 billion. And so the only reason why he's, again, apologizing for this and doing damage control for this is because, what? It can cause more damage. But let me, his excuse sounds a lot like these two. Now, when Megyn Kelly on Fox News a few years back said that Santa Claus and Jesus was white. Okay, she got into a lot of trouble for that, but not on Fox News. This would later come to haunt her when she was on the NBS show when she did the whole what's wrong with blackface thing issue. And of course, the bounty hunter came out. A video came out of him. It's in fact his own son kind of turned his son who was dating a black woman. And Dog didn't like that, and he was just using the N-word all through up there. And he was even trying to, as he was insulting it, trying to say that, when I use the N-word about her, I'm not meaning N-word like, like the Klan would use it, but she's still an N-word. Okay? No. What this happened, this reveals who these people are. Now let me play. I want to show you this video here.
Hello, friends.
App, and it says, okay, take me to this one. And the guy goes, okay. I goes, that.
Let me say this. This is the video that, remember the second one that he's saying, oh, this video is going to come out. And this is the video when he talks about the black neighborhood being in the planet of the apes. All right, let's continue.
Good neighborhood. He's like, oh, yeah. Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out, and we're giggling. Oh, we're going to see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door, and there was no white people.
What are you? Dad's black, mom's white. Standard issue, pretty much.
Powerful combination genetic-wise, right? You get the body of the black man, and then you get the mind of the white man all together.
Now he's going to repeat this again. Now, remember, he apologized for the Planet of the Apes remark. This was a typical racist comment. When you go back in history and you hear how black people were portrayed, big lips, big eyes, extremely dark skin, okay? This is what he is doing. When he says he walked into the theater in the black neighborhood, he said we were in the Planet of the Apes. In other words, he was saying black people look like apes. This was an old stereotype, racist stereotype. See, it's old. You can go back, like I said, you go back and just, you can hear how people talk about this. By the way, racists talk about it today. When people say go back to Africa and all this other kind of stuff, these are the kind of the comments that they're saying. This is what they mean, that black people were inferior to white people. And he just made this statement here. And this is something you can go back to newscasters. For example, when the issue come up of why are there not black quarterbacks? Because, well, black people were, superior in their bodies, but they didn't think. Now, let me just say this. The stupidity of this. They said prior to this, prior to the 1900s, that they were saying that black people were inferior to white people in every way. This is what they used to say. In every way, black people were inferior to white people. Then people like Jack Johnson came along, and this is where the term the Great White Hope popped up. Because all of a sudden, Jack Johnson effortlessly, just beat every white component in the ring. And back then, just so you know, they didn't have just 12 and 15 rounds. Sometimes they would go 20, 30, 50 rounds, and he would just effortlessly beat them. And then he had other, of course, sports stars that it got to a point where now, blacks excel in almost every sports that they get in, right? I mean, look at Tiger Woods, a completely white sports of golf. Anyway, but so then they started saying, well, okay, give it to them. They're like apes because apes right now are stronger than humans, but they don't have the minds. This is the racism that he's talking about. Let's play it again. He's going to actually say this again here. Well, the person who posted this clip is put a loop on it. Let's continue.
In some strange combination. That doesn't, by the way, mean that black people don't have brains. It's a different brain. Don't get me. What are you?
Dad's black, mom's white. Standard issue, pretty much.
Powerful combination genetic-wise, right? You get the body of the black man, and then you get the mind of the white man all together in some strange combination. That doesn't, by the way, mean that black people don't have brains. It's a different brain. Don't get me.
Okay, so again, to me, this reveals who Joe Rogan really is. Sorry. As the great lady said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Well, we got 12 years of Joe. 12 years of Joe. All right, guys, look, that is my perspective. Love to hear your opinions and your views. Add them to the comment section. And remember, all comments are welcome. And don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. Till next time, I'll see you then.